Hi guys, this is a quick stream slash recording for YouTube based on the last couple of days. Obviously, the last stream that we posted, myself and Paul, with the trade setup. I was half expecting this move on the DXY to become a 2. So I'll just touch on what we were expecting. If you come back to the video that we were watching just a couple of days back, so around 16, so 3 days ago, uh, I was talking around the move from the 4 high, an A swing down, a B swing back, and then ultimately down where we are right now. So I was expecting the move to come up the channel, and if I just play this forward a couple of seconds, you'll see, put this on mute, what you'll do is you'll see what I was looking for as a 1-2 move. Now, although it moved up and it's come up where I was expecting it to go, the one problem that we have is it's currently taking the 93.43 level, which invalidates the 1-2 move. Okay, so the move up was still okay, but where now I'm looking to reassess, reevaluate, is if we come on back over to the charts, you'll actually see I've marked this up, and this is something I don't often do for a 4. I'm not really interested in all this kind of noise, but just digging a bit deeper, the couple of key areas, if I turn the price off, you can see I've marked it all up already. If I turn the price off, what you'll actually notice is that we can justify the ABC move up. We can justify a 5 move down, giving us a 3-5 or 5-3-5. So in theory, the point down to here is giving us a zigzag type pattern, which again, if I just mark this up like this, then in my analysis, I'm happy with that, everything to the left. So what I'm then doing is I'm focusing more on the right. Now, again, I can justify an ABC move, meaning that up until the 4, I was happy with that, which means I can take this away. And therefore, what I'm actually looking at now is where we are in this last move from here. So there's a couple of things I can do. I can leave what I was expecting on and say to myself, look, we've had COVID, we've had Brexit, we've had all kinds of things like the US election in the last year since this particular move, going back obviously March 2020. So Elliot being more an emotional analysis type tool, I understand that this isn't going to be 100% all of the time. And I think sometimes just taking this with a grain of salt. And this is the main reason I use this more as my bias rather than the actual religion, why this is not something that I'm keen to come into all these zigzags and flats and corrective moves, and it needs to be this and it needs to be that. So if we strip this back, all I'm looking at now is removing this last orange move and thinking to myself, okay, 4 might come a little bit higher, which we've just done. And I'm actually going to look at the character of that trade. Now, if we know from a 5 move overall that the 2 move up down back to the 3 is giving us a swing, and this swing, so basically taking the 0 here and the 0 there, is giving me the pullback up currently only to the 38%. So it's still valid as the move down. I'm still comfortable with this. The mass media are talking, euro to the moon in essence. And the one thing for me I'm looking at is why? What's the logic behind this? If we stick on things like the stochastic, we can actually see in terms of the stochastic that we've got, let's get rid of this one for now. We've actually got a overbought situation with a false bar. So this in essence is the shortening of the thrust. Okay. So for me, I'm curious to see, how far this can go. There's nothing stopping it going up and keep going up. But the fact that we're already there in the daily time frame makes me want to analyze more on the next time frame up. If I was to take an extension on this level and go, I've already marked these in, obviously, we've actually got a 1618 at the 94.21. So if I was to take a guess on this and I was to put this into this range as the 1, 2, 3 as well, that's a range that I like. then, we're already in this range. We could even see the 50% marker within this range. Let's just stick that on as well for good measure. So, if the character is suggesting that we're shortening the thrust, yes, we might not have had the 0-1-2 move that I would have liked. But it doesn't mean that this is invalid at the moment. We've got a lot of move up. We can go all the way to 98 and still not breach the initial count on this. And therefore, I'm quite happy with that, as a whole. So that's where we are in terms of DXY. And what I'll do is I'll then go to cover some of the, I suppose, the moves in terms of where we are on the much bigger play, being the DXY weekly count overall. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll come into the DXY move and I will go on to advanced get instead. Here we go. So in terms of the DXY bigger count, we've got the monthly move at the moment. We're suggesting a current 4. Let me get rid of this. I don't like this. There we go. So this was suggesting a 4 high. Okay, so it might be that the 4 is just not in yet on the month, and therefore a 4 to 5 is still on the card. So we've got regular profit taking 63 PTA. These are all things that I'm quite happy with overall. So on the monthly, yeah, my feeling, my gut, my instinct has not really changed. My bias is still pretty much the same. I think on the weekly, all I'm seeing at the moment is we're creating some kind of double top, and this could easily be some kind of fake out, because looking at that there, that doesn't give me confidence that we've actually got, get rid of these, that we've actually got some kind of impulsive move sitting in this ascending channel. Okay, so that for me there is well, I suppose some people would refer to this as some kind of continuation pattern now, and obviously this being a bearish flag. So we've got the oscillator, which I think has already peaked. We've got a couple of equal bars there, so I'd like to see obviously a move back down there again, back to the center level being this. So I suppose the logic overall is that I'm quite happy still with a short position, regular profit taken. Yes, we don't have the ideal, the perfect, the 100%, textbook type example, but it is a 4, it is ugly, and therefore I'm actually seeing this as an A to B like this, and then obviously a C up there, something along these lines. So that makes sense on the monthly, it makes sense on the weekly, and therefore we're now just waiting on the daily moves to give us what it is we're actually looking for overall. So what I'll do now is I'll get rid of this one. Let me get rid of the advanced get, and let me stick this one in, and then come back. And what I'll do then is around this time I will jump into the current Bitcoin situation and do pretty much a similar thing. So where we are in terms of Bitcoin, let me stick this back on the chart. There's a couple of key points for me on the Bitcoin side. We just make sure this is live and sorted. Yeah, all good. So in terms of the Bitcoin move, the one thing that I want to do is just to highlight some kind of key facts that we've clearly got the all-time high. I'm saying that we've got an ABC move down, which gives me another 0. Now, if I was to measure these particular moves and just use this as kind of 0.1 and this here. Now, if we were to take a fib extension and I go from the top, and it's just going to be rough, this isn't going to be magnetized or anything, just literally from here to here. Now, what we can see is that in the first move down, we clearly tagged the 1618, yeah? So that one for me is good enough that justifies a decent ABC move. Now, if I'm looking at 3-3-3-3 pattern, for example, I was initially thinking potentially we're going to get some kind of double zigzag, and this goes back into the subscribers channel, going back a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months now. So if I was to look at a double zigzag move, now I'm starting to look at where we were on this particular pullback. Now, this one is very tight, so I'm going to come back here and then basically come all the way back down. What I can actually see from this particular move is that we've tried to target this 1618. Okay. Now, initially, my thinking was, could we come across to this one instead, giving us exactly the 618? But I think the actual pullback was higher the day after the move, giving us this. So there would be nothing in terms of expectations to actually suggest that, we could create some kind of consolidation box here, move up to the 1618, which I think at this particular point, there's going to be a lot of assumptions that we are moving towards the 50,000 level. I think if I'm working out what Composite Man would be looking for and why he would be looking for this type of move, is we would get a lot of new buyers in on the way to 50,000. I think if we didn't hit 50,000, it was 49, 700 and something, then I think there's going to be a lot of, people losing out ultimately. So I think there's logic in why we could go a little bit higher. If I put this, just mark this up here. So around this kind of level there. So there's logic for a move up higher, and therefore this could easily be a consolidation. If we start to take out some of these lows here, then I'd expect this to drop back down. And then we're looking at first real target is this over here, or potentially this. We've got a little box, little range sitting in here, here to here. So first kind of target would be 42, roughly 42 and a half. And then after that, I think we'd be in some kind of free fall down and coming back to test newer lows and potentially the previous lows from before. So I'd like to see the character when we get around the 42 level, if we get back down there. And I think if we move on back up, then I'd like to see, a 49, 50 at the push. We might get a little bit of hype through the 50 and straight back down. But I think ultimately we're going to get some kind of move or bounce off this. And it'd be interesting to see what the character on the smaller time frames start to look like when we get here. Now, looking at the stochastic, we're heading into the oversold area, which again, this gives me reason for a 42. So we might get a couple of big candles down and then ultimately another bounce back up. And if I come into the weekly time frame, then I think right now we're in the opposite end in terms of the overbought, oversold situation, meaning that if we do get a move back up, we are likely to see a bounce and a rejection off this particular point, giving me a move that looks something like this. And what I'd like to see is a move down into the rejection, a move back up, suckering some more longs, even if it was just to take out these highs sitting here. And then given that the weekly down, I'd like to see a weekly smash through this level as a play overall, giving us a nice little play. And I think that's going to break a few hearts. So yeah, I think really that's all it is. That's all I really wanted to cover in terms of the current situation, DXY. I think at the moment we are intrinsically linked as Bitcoin is obviously falling, DXY is moving, and vice versa. So I think at the moment it's just interesting times. What I'm really looking for and what I'm excited about is that when these things actually start to diverge, we've actually got the overbought situation on both Bitcoin and DXY. And I think at that point, we're going to see a nice move as one of them falls. I think the other one will start to fall as well, rather than the actual correlation that we have at the moment. So I think that's going to catch a few people out, which again is part of what Composite Man is aiming to do. This is why retail lose a lot of money and obviously institutionals making a lot of money. And therefore that's something that I'm expecting, at any time now. So I think in the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to get an interesting couple of moves in both the DXY and in Bitcoin. So yeah, have a great week or the rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.